Well, wouldn't you know it? Erin Strolovich, she, her, as well as all the other GM executives, apparently work from home these days, so we ended up emailing the letter and invoice to Miss Strolovich, she, her. And if GM decides not to make reparations, we will indeed sue the General in Small Claims Court. As far as we're concerned, we were robbed of our time and our resources, and we will not let this stand, folks. Oh, and another thing, if this does go to court, I'll be doing cartwheels because during the process of disclosure, maybe then we'll get to find out who ordered GM to disinvite us. Was it Prime Minister Trudeau? Or was it his new best boyfriend, Premier Doug Ford? Or maybe both? Hey guys, you want to play hardball? Let's play hardball. In any event, you had plenty to say about GM's egregious public relations strategy. Wescan writes, GM has lost our business for good. We have 2 vehicles that their leases are up on April 1st, 23, and we will be returning those 2 vehicles and going with another car manufacturer because of their fascist woke policies. And Trudeau got that troglodyte she heard to invite you to the event and then canceled on you. These people are the evil we are fighting in the world today. My wife and I love Rebel News and appreciate all that you do for Canadians. Well, you know what? That is absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate your support, sir. And isn't it wonderful that GM certainly doesn't have a monopoly? There are so many great car companies and great cars to choose from. You won't be disappointed. And MM Beer writes, I saw more than a few guys on GM's Twitter site go on there and let GM know that they had canceled their truck orders. This was due to GM announcing that they would no longer advertise on Twitter as Musk had just purchased the platform. One guy made a point of saying that as soon as he found out that GM did not believe in the First Amendment, he immediately canceled his truck order and had already placed an order with Ram for the truck he wanted. Yeah, imagine that. GM somehow finds it offensive that Elon Musk is standing up for freedom of speech and the First Amendment. But what woke cowards they are, eh? That's the thing about GM. If their marketing plan and business strategies flop and the company goes belly up, big deal. They'll just lobby the governments on both sides of the border for yet another taxpayer-funded bailout. Pathetic. Roger Moses writes, I'm really getting sick and tired of people claiming Rebel News is not media or journalists and keeping their employees out of the loop. They give much better accounts of current events than CBC, Global, CTV, etc. Well, thank you kindly, Roger. And there were 2 sidebar stories taking place at the GM Ingersoll plant that day that received absolutely zero mainstream media attention. For starters, there was an anti-Trudeau protest taking place outside the main entrance. No coverage. And get a load of this. About 200 tradespeople and programmers who are still working on refurbishing this plant were told to stay home that day, missing out on 8 hours worth of work plus 2 hours worth of overtime. They were not given a reason why they had to stay home, but apparently the unspoken reason was that GM did not want anyone to give Trudeau the bird or display one of those F Trudeau flags. And you know how sensitive Prime Minister Blackface McGroper is when it comes to well-deserved criticism these days. John Grice writes, who else was invited and got canceled, or was this personal to Rebel News? You know, that's an excellent question, John. I can tell you this, we didn't see any other media turned away that day. In fact, the likes of the CBC were practically given the red carpet treatment. But here's the thing, if they didn't want us there, why'd they invite us in the first place? Ellis, 89, writes, LOL, you can't resist twisting the knife with that she-her inclusion, can you, David? Hey, Ellis, 89, if the wokesters out there continue to flag their gender pronouns or whatever in their personal bio, Who am I to be so insensitive when it comes to acquiescing to their demands? And finally, Up North writes, thanks, David. Great report. As a diehard Chevy/GM supporter, I will never buy again from this woke company. Too bad. GM was a great company years ago. R.I.P. GM. Well, Up North, it is sad, isn't it? My first vehicle was a Chevy, and I truly want the domestic auto industry to succeed. I really do. I want them to build good products and employ thousands and thousands of Canadians and Americans. But for decades, GM has suffered from grotesque mismanagement. I mean, you go back some 60 years ago and GM's market share in the US and Canada hovered around 50%. Unbelievable. But these days, it's less than 16%. That's brutal. And a big part of the reason for this decline is that for decades now, GM has been building too many cars in too many factories that too few people want to buy in an automotive sector that is uber competitive. These are self-inflicted wounds by the general, by the way. And then they pull a stunt like this. It is pathetic beyond words. Oh, and another thing, how dare that the new Corvette is offered only with an automatic transmission? How can you manufacture a six-figure sports car without giving buyers the option of having a stick shift? Man, GM, they just keep blowing it, don't they? Hey folks, that was an excerpt from my show, Rebel Roundup. Now, to get the full meal deal, why not go to Rebel News Plus, sign up, and never miss a Rebel News Plus show in the future.